Hey everyone, Anthony 4x4Diesel. If you end up here at our Prado Hilux engine replacement hospital, you've probably missed something or made a little boo-boo along the line somewhere, because I believe it could be avoided. This one was out touring Australia, up the Cape, up North Queensland, when it popped its cherry. And there is a bit of a cherry. What's going on there with that red torque converter? Anyway, it must be some work's been done on the transmission. So that's already telling us a story about what could have been a contributor to this cracked piston. Now, at some stage it did have the injectors replaced, maybe late, always better late than never, and most people are going to be okay. This could be a 1 in 1,000 thing. I'm really not too sure. It's very rare as far as we're concerned, because we obviously help maintain thousands and thousands of these vehicles through our Prado Hospital network and the 4x4Diesel workshop partners, and supplying the injector kits on all those maintenance items and teaching people, showing them from the experience, years of experience, what these vehicles need to be looked after and to last. Now, you've really got to consider a few things. When you've got a big four-wheel drive, I've said it before, it's a big four-wheel drive. It might be just a little Prado, and stop calling it a Land Cruiser and all that, but it is a big four-wheel drive. It's heavy. It's like a brick as far as wind resistance goes. And when you modify it and add to that, you know, snorkels, roof racks, light bars, solar panels, awnings, Max trucks up there, who knows what else is up there and been up there on other trips, bull bars, winches, all the usual sorts of things that can reduce airflow to the cooling system. We've got a number of other contributors. So at some stage it did have the injectors replaced. I suspect it would have been well over 200,000 Ks, but I'm really not too sure. Maybe I'm just really taking a guess here, 220, 230, more or less, something along those lines. Depending what year it is, how much of a contributor that would be. Of course, you've also got the possibility of getting bad fuel, so fuel issues, and it might not be the current tank that you've got now. You could have had bad fuel that's done premature wear to the injectors, and then obviously it's caused some issues later. So it's well documented by Toyota, though, that injectors, they don't call it old flogged injectors like I do. They say, you know, injectors, you know, and there's upgraded injectors and blah, blah, blah. So injectors causing wrong combustion, which does affect the piston. They've tried to make it stronger. That doesn't mean there's a problem with the piston, and it doesn't mean that the newer pistons don't crack. So let's be very clear on that. We've got a number of videos where we've talked about this. So check it out. Maybe the playlists. It's time to get into the playlists. Have a look which playlist. Maybe one's called engine info, one's called cracked pistons. You've got injector info, you've got the BFE job, you know, all that sort of thing, all that info. Have a look at whatever you're interested in. And it's not just 1KD FTV, what we specialize in. Very similar looking pistons in other makes and models, they crack just the same. So having a look at the roof rack, the extra wind resistance with, you know, a few things up there like the shovel also. Everything creates extra wind drag, you know, wind resistance, carrying extra weight. So you've got to think about the weight. Another contributor. So what we're doing for a moment is just pretending that, let's just pretend the injectors had not much to do with it, and wasn't the injectors, okay? All I'm going to say is stock standard vehicles, rarely do they crack a piston. I can't even think of it. The only time I see one that looks very stock standard is when it's got a tune. So tune is the current for the last 5 to 10 years #1 cause of cracked pistons in small diesel engines. Chips have never been helpful. A lot of people with chips prematurely, let's say, had early days, had cracked pistons. I'm talking 100,000 Ks, draw a circle around it. So there's got to be a reason. That doesn't happen anymore. This one's over 300,000 Ks. It's 2025 now. And in 2020, apparently it had the injectors replaced, so that's good. What year is it though, is another factor. I'll just check that out. It is a 2013. So getting the injectors replaced in 2020 is good. But I suspect, so that's the 7-year thing, that's good. I suspect that maybe it had done more Ks than the 170, and that's okay. It's probably fine till 200,000 because they would have been the full DLC type. So on the injector side of things, I'm going, well, I don't really see that that's going to be the main contributor this time. Okay, so I don't think so. So straight away I go looking at things that create more extra load, and here I've got a nice big heavy set. When I say big and heavy, all-terrain heavy duty tyres. They are much heavier than your stock standard tyres. They've got full tread on them, so full weight. And you can see 265 7017, which a little bit bigger might be okay on a stock standard vehicle doing no towing. But if you're towing and touring, the last thing you want to do, in my opinion, is put bigger size tyres, because it just adds to the load of the vehicle. So this poor little engine, it got absolutely hammered, because when you consider the size of the vehicle, the modifications on the vehicle, then the increase of the size of the tyres, and then you add the camper that gets towed fairly regularly and was being towed at the time. And so this is all contributors, and some people are going, oh, that's it, so you're telling me you can't have a Prado in tow? Well, you can, but it appears that you can't do it in overdrive, because look, this information is designed to help other people, to help avoid the situation. In the Toyota owner's manual, it says if you're towing, leave it in fourth. Don't tow in overdrive. Fifth is overdrive, okay? So whatever your make and model is, you need to be aware of this. This is a small engine, a 4-cylinder diesel engine for that big Prado that's modified with extra weight and accessories. These things up on the roof, they all add to be a contributor to both wind resistance and weight. Obviously, a lot of the gear has been cleared out of this vehicle, but you've got, it all adds weight. Water, there'll be plenty of water in here somewhere, would have been fully loaded, the family car, all the gear, big heavy fridge full of food. There's a lot of weight going on in this vehicle, plus a camper trailer, oversized heavy tires, and then we're running it in overdrive. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's time to start doing some research. Subscribe, turn the bell on, because to be quite honest, if this vehicle didn't get run in overdrive and that was the only thing we changed, we might not be here today. Now, other considerations, if we certainly didn't run it in overdrive towing, and when I say towing, even if you're not towing, if you're heavily loaded and you got all the swags and tents up on the roof, wind resistance, 100, 110, 120, 130, in my opinion, all contributors to working this little engine hard, creating a lot of heat. Don't run it in overdrive. Don't run oversized heavy tyres. If you're not going off-road and four-wheel driving, don't buy heavy all-terrain tyres. Buy more road-orientated. They're lighter. They're safer on the road. It's always a compromise, whatever tyres you buy. So you've got to purchase based on what you're using the vehicle for. Larger tyres, well, you know, if you've got a weekend car that you don't travel far, that you need every millimetre of clearance, then you're probably even going to go bigger than this. Don't do too many Ks on them. Don't run it in overdrive. So you've put bigger tyres, it's geared it up, which means you've got lower revs, you're loading up the engine and putting a lot more heat through it. So let's talk about that transmission a little bit more. Remember, there was a red torque converter there, which makes me think, has that had transmission work or a torque converter? Why would that be done? We see these transmissions as bulletproof, but if you're running around in overdrive with big tyres, heavily loaded, you're going to be slipping the torque converter, making a lot of heat, destroys the oil. Oil then doesn't protect the components, and then you're going to need transmission work. So that's where at the start I said, this torque converter is telling me a story straight away. It's just a matter of the owner of the vehicle didn't know, okay? Everyone's busy, they've got their jobs, their families, they've got things going on. If you miss the videos, if you don't make a point of getting yourself educated on your videos, just like on your home, the house you live in, if you don't get yourself educated, you might wake up in the morning to a high tide. You know how those flexi hoses under the sink burst? Everybody knows about that, don't they? You should probably change them every 10 years, use quality ones, make sure you've got house insurance that covers you for that, and also make sure they haven't got a clause in there that says you've got to have a pressure reducer or we don't cover you, because they do stuff like that. Oh, you didn't know that? Well, you know, well, like I said, you've got to do your own homework and get yourself educated so you don't miss these things. Otherwise, it can end in disaster. This is a small disaster. Again, we always try and make a positive out of a negative. This is only a $20,000 disaster, probably a little bit over, because when you do the engine, you've got a lot of optional extras, and to do it properly, you just sort of throw those extras at the job and it all adds up. Always use a new engine. In my opinion, I would not be using any rebuilt engines from anywhere. I'm not going to pick on any particular brands. We've seen and heard problems for decades. Doesn't matter who's building the engine. Oil leaks, blowing smoke. I'm lucky enough to get contacted where people get confused that it's another business and tell me about all the problems they have with his engine. That's a whole nother story we won't go into in this video. And it's not me though. We don't have issues. It's the other business, it's the other people. the only way to purchase an injector kit from me, which is your #1 maintenance program. If you don't know already, these injectors, if you don't do the correct maintenance on them, and the correct maintenance is my maintenance program that I've shared with everybody for years, you could end up with a blocked oil pickup, oil starvation. You could end up with old flogged injectors that are wrong combustion, no good for the engine. That's your primary cause. Let's say it's more of a traditional cause. That's the old original traditional cause, those two things. And then since then, people have understood injector replacement and making sure those seats aren't leaking, checking oil pickups, this sort of thing. And then chips came along because you need more power, because we already covered that fact that it's a little 4-cylinder engine. It's a big four-wheel drive, it's modified, it's got some big tyres, it's got a camper trailer, and it's hauling it around Australia in overdrive. So to be quite honest, no surprise here. If you don't want this to happen again, and you want your shiny new engine to last forever, you need to follow the directions that have been provided. This one, it's a new engine, shiny new, brand new, genuine, made in Japan, right? Comes with injectors in it, it's awesome value for money. Like everything, they keep going up, up, up. So I'm not even going to quote prices because anything I say in a video is out of date by the time you need one. And there's a few variables from Prado to Hilux and all that sort of thing. But when I say new engine, I mean brand new, not rebuilt. That's the only thing I would be going for if I was you. And of course, a number of other optional extras. This one's going to get a new turbo and new engine mounts and some other things. So why would you put engine mounts in it? Well, the engine's out and the engine mounts go right there and there. So it's free labour because they're coming out anyway. That's why. They're pretty cheap. They're about $300 for the pair. Why wouldn't you? Some of the early ones did have some issues. They were never going to break and fall out or anything like that. So you don't have to change them if you don't want to. It's an optional extra. Why would you put a new turbo on? Genuine Toyota turbo and gasket kit. Well, quite simply, because the car's done over 300,000 Ks. And if you want to keep it reliable, you might as well throw a new one at it. And then the 20 grand you spend, it's almost like having a new car. You've got a new heart in the beast and all the main components next to it. This is something that can randomly let you down. Once again, very rare. Probably similar to a cracked piston. And there's probably nothing wrong with the one on the vehicle, but that can be a good, cheap, second-hand spare for someone that's got no money or whatever. But you just don't know. We've had it once before where we reused the turbo and the turbo was gone, and maybe that was a contributor to the crack piston on that vehicle. As you can see, I've got no shortage of information for you. If you like it, I reckon you should probably subscribe, turn the bell on, and even if you've got a different make or model, there's a lot of good information to help you get educated, to look after your vehicle and avoid these situations. You should make it a priority to not miss the videos. Of course, I'm going to say that. It's not about the money. I can make a lot more money replacing engines than I can on YouTube. I guarantee you that. I'll swear on the Bible anything you need. A lot more money replacing engines. If I was here to do business and replace engines, then I'd be just telling you, you know what, don't worry about replacing the injectors. Just come and see me when you need an engine. Just keep driving it. Put your big tyres on, modify your car, blah, blah, blah. Bring it in, I'll do you a tune. Yeah, we can charge you a couple of grand and do the best tune in the world. Okay, $2,000, we can do that. That isn't going to help your situation for your long-lasting vehicle, so that's not what we do. We'll let everybody else do that. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.